They say that everyone knows it when they find it. And now you're asking, is he really talking about LOVE? Well, no, not exactly. I mean, a great communications experience. But where does it begin? Is it in the back office, the network, in devices, or in the apps? And finally, what does the future hold for a company that is concentrating so strongly on achieving the optimal communications experience? Aricent have strong opinions on all of that. So I'd like to talk to their Executive Vice President and General Manager, Patrick Jogost. Patrick, very nice to meet you.
Great meeting you, Jeremy.
With the growth of multi-tiered pricing plans, I guess the pressure is really on service providers to be judged by the quality of the service they offer. What are the challenges that you find your customers are facing when trying to deliver the really quality user experience?
I think that what I've really seen from my carrier customers is the challenge of really adapting to this new environment overall. For the first time, we've got more sales of smartphones than PCs, which is really driving an explosion of traffic, of mobile data traffic into the network. Number two, we're looking at really a proliferation of this social media where there really are more conversations taking place on Twitter and Facebook than there are in regular standard voice calls. And at the same time, the environment, they really need to manage their CapEx. They are expending CapEx on expanding network coverage and making sure they've got ubiquitous service available to all their users, but at the same time, making sure that they're effectively using their OpEx. And from an OpEx perspective, it's really critical that they look at how are they managing their processes, how are they really looking at, how do they vision how to provide these new services in a new, more dynamic environment to make sure those end users are really happy with the service they're providing.
So what are the key disciplines and ingredients that Aricent can help with when trying to achieve that compelling user experience?
There are many. So the first thing that comes to mind in terms of the user experience and making sure that it's fully understood by a carrier, by really anybody who's part of that value chain in providing a user experience to a carrier, is innovation. And we have within Aricent a company called Frog Design, which is a 40-year-old brand started in Germany, now in San Francisco with studios around the world that do primary consumer research and look at really what are the trends and the things that are most important to a consumer as they relate to the company that's providing service to them, in this case a carrier. If you look at the broader Aricent, the organization that I manage, we've got about 20 years worth of experience in terms of really managing overall business processes effectively for carriers. One of the other things that's really interesting inside of Aricent as we start doing more and more system integration work for carriers is the fact that our heritage is we've done an awful lot of product engineering work for some of the largest OEMs in the world. So we understand how their products work. We understand how they work in a very complex networking environment. But more importantly, and something unique, I believe, to Aricent, is we understand how these various piece parts interact well together. So those are the ingredients that really make us pretty uniquely, very uniquely equipped to understand the user experience and have an impact on the carrier's bottom line.
So with end users demanding ever faster services and ever greater bandwidth, what are the challenges that are being put to operators when it comes to delivering 4G network services?
I think it's important for a carrier to really make sure that they understand what their plan is in terms of rolling out 4G overall. It's a very different environment when you have an all IP environment for the first time for the carrier. But now you're also in the world of machine-to-machine kind of connection. So it's really not just subscribers that you're meeting the needs for. It's really connected devices overall. So I think it's important for carriers, and we're working with carriers, in terms of understanding what the new dynamic environment is going to do, not just to the network and how they roll out the network, but how they plan those back-end systems.
What are the innovations in business processes, Patrick, that are going to be helping CSPs to deliver and optimize, I guess, their CapEx, their
OPEX and to achieve enhanced service level agreements?
We're seeing a number of areas where they really should be concentrating right now, and we're working with many carriers in these areas. Number one is really understanding the inventory that they have. So we have a practice involved with really doing a deep inventory audit to make sure that they understand what they've got. They're optimizing the use of their equipment, and then we even have programs with some of our partners to be able to take some of that spare inventory and sell it in the third market. So it's really millions of dollars worth of savings from a carrier's perspective. The second example is in the whole area of testing and devices and applications in the network. As more and more carriers want to be able to compete and make sure that they've got leading-edge devices, and even more importantly, leading-edge applications in the network, it's important that those devices and applications are working effectively in the infrastructure. So we have a number of offerings in the marketplace from end-to-end testing that we do. For example, for Vodafone in the UK, we've taken over their test environment and now offering that to third parties, to even for some carriers that want to maintain that infrastructure of their own testing environment. But we've got a healthy library of test cases on various applications and devices that we can bring to bear in that market.
Aricent have been talking lately about the need for really highly specialized systems integration services. What's driving that need?
It's really being driven by the needs of the carriers and operators themselves. They're operating in a much more complex environment than ever before in terms of really multi-vendor kind of environment. They've got very, very strong demand coming from users for this very rich data kind of experience that they want to be able to have from their operator. At the same time, the operator has tremendous operations expense limitations that they need to manage, as well as make sure that they're deploying their CapEx wisely into the network. From the network side, we've worked with most of the OEM partners in terms of developing a lot of the fundamental technology that's being deployed in those networks today. From an operations standpoint, we've got deep expertise and understanding in terms of the fundamental business processes that are important to make sure that you provision a service seamlessly all the way from first experience with a customer all the way through that bill that you're rendering to them in a flexible, friendly environment, good manner. So it's a really kind of a unique combination of skills that Aricent brings to the table, that's very much focused on the deep domain expertise that we have in the telecommunications marketplace.
Patrick, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you for your time.